Spawn On Me is the premier podcast spotlighting people of color. Every week, we talk news, what we've been playing, and tell you who's invited to the cookout. Our show is all about talking about gaming through a prism of blackness, because we are the culture. Welcome to Chicago, y'all.
Yo, what up, everybody? What up, the DOB? I hope you're all doing well. This is the Spawn On Me podcast with your host, Kahlief Adams. I am Kahlief Adams. What is going on? I hope you're all doing well. I hope everyone is having a wonderful, magical, mystical Thursday, and hoping that you are all doing well. It is a very different vibe right now because we are not on twitch.tv/SpawnOnMe. We are here hanging out on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/SpawnOnMe, because if you missed the news, Twitch said you can do that if you're a partner on Twitch. So we decided to, change some things up and do things a little bit differently this week and potentially going forward. I think, one of the things that we have been trying to figure out from a show perspective is what's the best way to get everything moving in a direction that feels best for the show and feels best for the ability for us to consolidate some of our work pipelines, and also a good way to kind of move some things in a different direction. I think, we'll see how things go. We have a lively chat here tonight. Folks have come through who are usually over on our Twitch channel. So massive love to all of you for coming through and hanging out with us here on YouTube. But we also want to continue to grow our show across so many different more folks and different audiences. And now with Twitch saying that you can stream on multiple services now, you can't multi-stream on at the same time, but you can stream on multiple services if you're a partner channel. We're going to take advantage of that and see what we can do here, and then maybe just do some gaming streams on our Twitch channel and do the live podcast here on YouTube. So again, thank you for everybody for joining and coming up and hanging out with us this week and every week. Massive love to everyone for coming through and hanging out. I'm gonna have to learn how to mod people all over again. I gotta learn how to do all that stuff on the channel to make sure that we're keeping everything safe and moving in a good spot for everything that we're doing Spawn On Me wise. I have been a madman running around all day, every day, doing a whole bunch of different stuff because it has just been busy in my life, doing my 9-to-5 job, going to PAX, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the show. We'll also have a lot of different conversations going along around a bunch of different stuff this week. We may even do a second show because there were so many things that happened in a couple weeks prior that we didn't get a chance to really dig into those. But we have a fantastic guest tonight, which is the reason why I am so excited for our show today. And again, massive love to everybody in the chat except for Paris Lily, who is in the chat, who literally just said, as soon as he came into the room, a big fat boo in the chat. Talk about how people just don't love how we get down here on Spawn On Me, even though they are terrible, unreasonable cooks who have poisoned multiple people. They have probably killed more people than botulism with their food in the world. Anyway, we have a fantastic guest this week. I am very excited to have them rocking with us here. The man, the myth, the legend, the man needs really no introduction. Hall of Famer podcaster, now going to be, and now is, I think he's going to be a best-selling author when we get a chance to talk about his book. But I think person who has guided me through many, many layers of this industry, a huge friend, mentor, beautiful human being, lovely, lovely person all around. It is the one and only founder of Gamertag Radio. It is Danny Peña rocking with us here on Spawn On Me. What the deal be, Danny? How are you doing, sir?
Hey, what's up? What's up, Kai? Thanks for having me on. Yo, I haven't been on in a very long time, man. But thanks for inviting me, man. Can't wait to talk to you, man.
Well, I mean, look, the last time it's been so long that we haven't had you on the show. You've moved, you joined G4, you got married, you're now an author. It's been so many different things that have kind of transpired since the last time we had you on the show. First of all, I just got to say thank you for being here with me. Again, always dope to be able to see you in any form. But also very, very special to have you here on Spawn and Me here when we were making this move as well over to YouTube and doing some of our work over here. First of all, how are you doing? How are things going on your end? Because you are ridiculously busy with everything that you have going on.
Yeah, I've been super busy. I've been, doing my media tour. Also, at the same time, been still working at G4, doing a lot of projects over there, and stuff with GTR, and also side stuff like speaking engagements. And I've been super busy, man, super busy. But I had to schedule all my stuff, man, especially because now next week is the release of my first children's book that I've been working on with my cousin, Mr. Luna. Can't wait for that. Can't wait for that to come out.
Isn't that wild? It's again, I think one of the things that I appreciate about you so much is I think, for folks who don't really understand how hard Danny works and how much Danny does, not only just in front of the camera and, behind the scenes at his 9-to-5 job and gig. I know that people hit you up constantly for advice, hit you up for, appearances. Hey, can you hook me up and connect me to these people? What is it like to continue, after a decade plus of doing this work, to still be relevant and still be, in a space where you're not only just kind of, doing the usual things you do when you move into a space like this, but you have continued to grow in so many different verticals, so many different ways. How has it been to continue to, reinvent yourself so often while making dope content for the world to enjoy?
I still feel like the same person from when I started back then, still hungry to work, to make moves, to network. I always like to experiment and do new things. And, I got into the point in my life where I just don't even look at numbers at all. I don't worry about like, I need to have a certain amount of downloads, or I'm just having fun with everything, man. And having also, my co-hosts, my brothers, Paris Lily and Peter Toledo, we're still going at it, man. And it's been a very long time working together, man, over a decade now together, so, and GTR just turned 17 years old.
Wow.
This year, and this is my 21st year now as a content creator, so yeah, it's been wild, man. It's been really wild.
Shout out to Pete. The only really good co-host that you have on that show. Like, it's cool to see you, y'all have done this work for so long. It's like Pete has just been Pete hasn't even been on the show fully. He does more work than Paris does, which is really cool to see, how that has come together and really, move the conversation in a real way. But I think that's been a dope layer of all the stuff too. I guess, again, like most of our fans know about Gamertag Radio and about the work that you and Pete and Paris have done. For the folks who are new to our YouTube channel or just come in and see you for the first time on our show, give the folks there a little bit of info as well about what the breadth and depth of Gamertag Radio and GTR has been.
Yeah, so Gamertag Radio is a gaming podcast that I created 17 years ago. It started as a Xbox podcast because I was very excited with all the online games during that time, with Xbox Live and everything like that. And then a year or two after the release of the podcast, I decided to just talk about video games in general. So any games from any platform, So it's been a wild ride. Now we have over 1,000 episodes. I think we just released episode 1223.
Wow!
And we had multiple guests throughout the years. We had Phil Spencer a couple of times. We had Reggie Fils-Aimé, representing the Bronx.
Yep.
I had also Keanu Reeves. Who else? I'm thinking Michael K. Williams, Danny Trejo. Twice I had him on the podcast. That's why he announced Machete without PR's permission. He leaked it by mistake.
Did he really? I forgot about that.
He did. He did.
Dope.
But we also had like multiple developers from all the from the industry from around the world, man. And we've been covering games, man, for a while, and we have a lot of debates on the show, man. So it's very very entertaining to hear our opinions, man, because we don't agree. That's the cool thing about us. We don't agree at all.
Y'all don't agree at all.
At all.
Let Me Dream continues to be a part of the ethos of when I think about GTR. I'm like, yo, let me dream. Like, that date is real. It's so many different ways.
Yeah, those are like the wild we call it Miss Leo predictions, for like stuff that's coming up. We haven't done it in a while, but that's a lot of fun.
I mean, the thing that I love too about you and the show, and I want to talk about the book in a second, but I think one of the things I really love about that layer of the conversation that you all bring to it is it never feels like you're not taking each other's ideas into account. It feels like those parts are even if there are disagreements there's always a consensus to let that idea rock and not be like, that was a dumb idea, that didn't make any sense, and that's going to be a thing that doesn't happen. I think that synergy between all of you on the show reflects itself out into the folks you're able to get on the show too. How important has it been? Because I've noticed as well, and I think a lot of folks who are in the industry, and I remember seeing one of my favorite folks in the space, Rebecca Valentine, talking about this earlier today on Twitter, was there's so much industry sniping that happens across people, and people will, shade each other on the low and throw little snide comments at each other when we're all peers in this space trying to, talk about video games and all that kind of stuff. What has made you all stand out in that way where you don't engage in that stuff? And I feel like it's lent the ability for you all to have big guests like a Danny Trejo on the show or Phil Spencer on the show. How is that kind of energy of truth being the thing that is at the forefront helped you all continue to stay relevant in the podcasting space?
I think it's just being ourselves, man, and just be smart on what not to say on the podcast, and also similar to posting. Like we've gotten, in the past we've gotten a lot of the hate from other creators, and I just ignore it. There was a time where I used to take it personal, but again, that was me in the early days, and then after a while, it's like, yo, what is the point? All those people that were doing that, they're not even around anymore. They're not doing no podcasts or anything like that nowadays. So, and it's been going well with us, man. Even when the announcement that Phil was going to be on our show, there was a podcast. I'm not going to mention the name, but there was a podcast that there was a podcast saying that we were skipping episodes. It's not 1,000 episodes and all this stuff. Right. And I'm like, and we just found this like by mistake. We found this, and I know this group of podcasters, and I'm like, wow, that's kind of messed up, because I'm the first one to love to support and help other upcoming creators. I've never been that person that like to compete or anything like that. I'm like this, Kyle. If you're successful on doing this, right? Yeah, it's gonna open the doors for all of us to also get these opportunities. Because we're at the end of the day, we're all in this together, man. I'd never been into the whole competitive podcast. We're doing better or anything like that. Even when Paris hit me up in 2006. Because he was curious on how to podcast. I helped him out. It took me a while because I was on vacation when he hit me up. But when I got back home, I was like, let me hit him up, and I gave him some tips, and we helped each other out, man. Even when we'll get like interviews or access for like an event, I'll be like, hey, Paris, man, contact so and so you could go in too, man. Like, yeah. Because at the end of the day, man, when I started, there was no person of color at these events. I was like the only Latino there, you know what I'm saying? So, and I'm glad that things has been changing throughout the years, man. And it's because people like you, me, Paris, other creators that we know, too, Tanya, so we need more of us to help the next generation to start also doing content creation or even get into the industry, so that's just been my goal. Especially like I've been, I'm trying to get like a lot of the gaming companies to go to like, let's say, Dominican Republic, to do like free workshops, how to code, and for the creators, the content creators, whether to learn how to, podcast and stream, stuff like that. So I've been focusing now about that, like, now. It's been a couple of years now, so it's been good.
It's been a minute. I mean, I think the other layer of all that too, I think, has been really inspiring for not only me but for so many of the folks, is to see you have these multiple layers of transition, right? Where, I remember early on, and I love when you go back into the crates. We both love music, so that idea of digging in the crates is not unfamiliar to both of us. But like when you go and dig into the crates, and you're like, oh, let me pull out this picture of when I was handing out Gamertag Radio on a cassette tape to people to listen to, or when I was at the first Xbox event and what's his face was there. I can't think of the man's name who runs freaking Microsoft. Jesus Christmas.
Well, Bill Gates.
Bill Gates. I couldn't think of Bill Gates' name right now. I just blanked on Bill Gates' name. But those moments, and then I see you throughout the years grind, and I remember very specifically the day that we were all at E3, and it was like my second E3, and I remember seeing all of you hustle and do like 50 episodes in a E3, and I can't front. That was the first time when the idea of how to do it right was a thing that was shared. Not only, it wasn't a thing that we ever said, it wasn't a thing that we ever talked about, but it was a thing that light clicked for me to say, oh crap, Danny, Pete, and Paris are hustling their behinds off. Like, this is not a thing, like, they're not coming here to play, they're coming here to take this thing over in a real way. And then fast forward another almost 7-8 years, or maybe even 9 or 10 at this point, and now you moved over to doing work at a network that has died and come back in G4. How has it been to have all of those layers of transition and now find yourself within the industry that you've covered for so long, as a content creator, but now you're helping to make content like God of Work on G4 and things like that? How has that been for you in terms of how you've thought about, where you sit within that whole ecosystem?
Yeah, it's wild, Kyle, that you reminded me of that amount of content that we released during E3. And there was only 3 people, for those that don't know. We did like 57, 56 episodes in a week, something like that, right? That's including interviews, short interviews, and also daily podcast episodes live from Los Angeles. It's not easy to do. Yeah. So by the end of the week, our voices are completely gone, And here's the thing, Kyle. I'm still doing that still to this day, but now for G4, the same exact thing. When companies will come here in town, I'll contact my people, so my contacts, for them to also to visit the studio, give them a tour. We have meetings. I try to get people for us to start doing interviews in person, some remote. They can't travel. I'm doing the same exact thing I'm doing for GTR. Same thing, Yeah. So only just the next level now, with TV and digital. And again, I still feel hungry to do this thing, man. I don't feel tired. I don't feel old about this. Like, because the people that get burned out and they just want to take a long break. I haven't gotten to that stage yet, man. For me, man, I don't know what it is.
Wild.
I don't know what it is. There was only one time that I had to take a break for personal reasons, right. But besides that, like, I just been going at it, man, doing my thing, man. And at the same time, and this is the most important thing that I think every content creator needs to realize too, is that connection, getting to know people, and instead of using people just to get access or free stuff. We've never been like that at all. Yeah. It was more of like, I want to get to know this person, and for them to understand where we're coming from and the things that we've been working on. So once they know us and want to start working with us in the future, so that's how we managed to get to many events, because people just love the way how we work. That's how we got an opportunity to sign a deal with CBS Radio. We joined their podcast for a couple of years, and and we were there with like hip hop podcast Dream Champs and everything too, you know, and same thing, man. And look, now that because the industry is so small too, you know, people they see your tweets, they listen to your content, they watch your content, right, and they will recommend you to somebody else too, man, that also work in the industry. And that's how the word goes around, man. So people will randomly hit me up like, hey, Danny, so-and-so mentioned to me about your work. We'd love to sit down with you to talk about whatever, you know. And that's how I've been building and spreading the word about my name throughout the years. Just meeting people face to face, man, overall.
And I think that's the thing too. I think a lot of folks don't understand, and this is the thing that I've had conversations with Paris about a lot, was, you know, that the industry energy that feels kind of off currently, that feels very, very again, snipey and petty and that stuff, which makes, you know, for me personally, like, I don't enjoy being around petty energy. Like, petty energy brings me down. It makes me not want to create. It makes me feel like I'm boxed into a space and I can't do the work that I want to do, which is be my fullest self when I want to do some of that stuff. But the thing that I love that I just hear you say is, like, you still haven't lost that fire for doing this kind of work, and you're continuing to broaden that out with the stuff that you've done. I think one of the things that I've always appreciated is whenever I mention your name or Paris or Pete's name, everyone's eyes light up. They all are like, oh, wow. Like, oh, yeah, like, we love them. Like, that is the line that is across the board of whenever we have those conversations around you and the work that you do. I think that's been a really dope thing. And you're right about the industry being really, really small. People have to remember just how small this space is, and how fortunate we are to be able to be on the inner circles of the stuff that we do. I think that good energy leads me directly into your book, which I think is another extension of the good that you bring out into the world. I'm really excited for this. This is going to be a very, very cool thing with me not putting the thing on there, right? But Danny Loves Video Games, based on the true story of Danny Peña. This is going to be really, really cool to have out into the world. I want to hear a little bit about, like, what was the kind of creative spark that made this now become a thing? When did this, you know, sit down and was like, I want to write a children's book? What was that like?
Yeah, shout out to my cousin, Mr. Luna, and his wife, Annie. They have a children's book company called Two Quality People. So they've been working on different books now for a couple of years now. And I was in Miami visiting because, you know, I was preparing, you know, stuff for wedding stuff with my wife during that time. And he came up to me, and because we used to do a lot of like mixtapes and parties and events back in the 90s when we were into the whole hip hop scene back then, right? When we were kids, we were like high school days and stuff, man. So we worked on different projects together, right? So he came up to me and said, "Hey, Danny, I would love to work on a children's book based on your true story, about your life. And he goes, I would love to do that, man, with you, because your story is so interesting. And I said, you know what? I'm down to do it. I'm really, really down to do it. And at the same time, I was thinking about a couple of things. One, I wanted to, dedicate the book to my grandmother, because she was the one that actually bought me my first Atari 2600 when I was a little kid. So there's a story about her giving the Atari to me, and also my cousins, because she bought 3 at that time, remember. So that the other ones is I also want to change the conversation and educate a lot of the parents that, let's say, for me, when I was a kid, I was mentioning to my dad, like, I was, I want to get into the video game business. I was very, very young. And the first thing he was saying, Danny, that doesn't pay the bills, And there's a lot of parents still to this day that believe that, they don't understand anything about the industry. So I'm trying to change their mindset about that. And at the same time, I want to give back to the next generation of kids that have never had a mentor. Like for me growing up, I never had a mentor how to get into the industry. I had to learn everything on my own. And now that I have access, why not give that support for those kids that are trying to be like us, man. They want to be YouTubers, streamers, content creators, or they have a dream. And for me, anybody could achieve their dream. It wasn't an easy path for me, but I made it happen, and I turned it into a career, man. And I'm very proud of all the work that I've done. I'm not no, content creator with millions of followers or anything like that. But let me tell you, I've done stuff that nobody's ever done, and I'm proud of that stuff, man. And I know earlier you mentioned about meeting Bill Gates and the Xbox team in 2001. I went to their launch, man. Look, I was there at Times Square in 2001. 20 years later, after that, Twitch put me in multiple billboards to be part of the campaign. I know you were part of it too early that year too, right? And the one thing that I always wanted to do was to take my mom and surprise my dad, to show them like this is possible, man. And my mom got super emotional. I took her to Times Square, man. So that's the reason why I'm releasing the book on September 15th. It's to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, celebrate that moment where the billboard in Times Square, and also that was the day that I proposed to Rihanna in Punta Cana. So it's like a big celebration. So next week we're actually going to Miami because I'm gonna have an event over there, and it's almost sold out. Like there's only like a couple tickets left, and we're gonna have a lot of parents coming in with their kids. There's even just people that are just fans of games that are just showing up too. And it's gonna be great, man. It's gonna be a great time for us to celebrate next week.
That's so dope. Again, I think that's the stuff that I love to hear. I think one of the things that has been frustrating in the industry for the past couple of years is it feels like when folks have started this process, right? And I think this is a thing that, we've talked about over the years has been, how do you inspire folks? Like, you don't have to be from, wealth. You don't have to be from places of, where gates are being kept to feel like you are have an ability to inspire people with the work that you do. And now this is another version of you being able to inspire a generation that, to a certain extent, is already beating us in terms of the way that the content creation pipeline works, right? Like they are way ahead of where we ever were when we were starting to get into the game in this way. When you think about, what this, and this is a weird question only because it's like people don't think about legacy when you're still in your 40s, right? But I think, do you feel like this is like a legacy kind of thing of like, if there, once Gamertag Radio is no longer a thing, you would have left all of that content to the world. But like, this is a thing that is even longer lasting in my mind of like, this is the thing that you can give to a small child and they can have their brain expand with the ways that you're thinking about this. And finally, like you said, get that idea across of like, oh yeah, if you're a parent, you don't have to be afraid of gaming in the ways that our parents were when they were growing up. How do you feel about the kind of like legacy layer of making this book out in the world and having this be a thing for young kids to kind of really engage with?
That's a great question because actually I had a conversation with multiple people about this. So remember growing up, when you find like a picture of your parents, it's rare. You get super excited, like, oh my God, I just found my mom when she was young, my dad, grandparents, etc. Right? Now is a lot easier for people to find your stuff online. Now they could, let's say years from now, grandkids or whatever, they could go online and search for your name, search for other people's name, and they will find all type of content that we've been releasing through the world for years now, right? It could be video, audio, or even books, and that's the thing that I wanted to do, man, because I always been thinking about when I ever have kids in the future, like my grandkids, I want them to learn about me and know about my story and the stuff that I've done in the past. That's one of the main reasons why I wanted to have my grandmother in there, because I don't want people to forget her, and you know how it is. You get busy, you start forgetting about the past, you're forgetting about the people that helped you in the past, and I don't want that. I want the world to know her story and my story and how everything went down, like, and I think that's very, very important for me, man. And I think my cousin actually he mentioned this to me a couple of times, like, hey Danny, once this book is out, that's it. Like, it's gonna be forever. People are gonna have this forever. And I'm like, yo, you're right. Years from now, decades from now, people are gonna go back and say, like, look, this book changed my life. This book is the reason why I'm doing this. Because if you think about it, Ka, there is no book out there right now that is for a children's book that is from a story about a content creator and a gamer. There is no book like that out there, and I hope other people could do the same and share their story, because everybody has a unique story, and I think it's important for us to teach the next generation, man. Like the stuff that you're doing with Spot on Me, that's very important, because there was nothing like this when I started. I wish there was a show like this when I started in 01. I remember the only thing that I had back in the days for me was just message boards, and I'll go to like IGN and like the big sites, and that's it. And I still remember, man, heading up IGN, like, hey, in the 01, I was like, hey, I just launched a radio show, would love to join the team. Like, just me thinking, like, I want to be part of the industry. I don't know how. Let me hit up different people. and it didn't work out. But yeah, that's how now people are gonna have access to learn how to get into the industry, how to learn how to code, how to learn how to create content creation. Like, it's so much easier nowadays, man. But we still have to do our part to help those people that don't have access and they don't know what to do. The important thing about this library, the event that we're gonna have next week, it's a couple minutes away from the other public library that I used to go there all the time because I didn't have no computer. And that's how I learned how to create a website. I was using angelfire.com during that time.
Yeah, Angel Fire.
Yeah, this is when I created my first email, like my first email account. Like, I was like, oh man, this is cool. So I would go to the library every day, because it was like, oh my God, I could do so many things. I could talk to people around the world. What I'm saying? It's like, but yeah, but yeah, I hope I answered your question, man. But sorry, I was like a very long-winded.
No. Look, you can't tell me about long-winded. I'm the captain of long-winded when it comes to asking a question and answering a question. So you're totally fine. I think it's also and I love hearing that sentiment, because I think our generation is the last generation to have not had the internet when we grew up, right? So like we have a different layer of reverence for the space and the technology that we use to do the stuff that we do now in a way that folks who are even, a generation after us don't have. They've always had the internet be a place where they can do things and make stuff. It also makes me really excited to see this be out in the world, because I know that, we talk a lot about doing things for the culture, but you are closely tied and love your Latino culture in a way that is very, very profound. You talk about it a lot. I see the DR flag behind you rocking. Always, right? It's a beautiful thing, right? Where it's like, I think that's a part of the conversation too that I'm hoping for you is like, when they have that, who are the dopest Latinos in the world, like you get to be one of the folks who are in that list alongside that. And I think this is also one of those layers that goes alongside that. Have you thought about that layer too, in terms of what the kind of like what this is going to leave, not only just for you as Danny, but like you in terms of the culture too?
Yeah, that's very important for me, man. I've been doing a lot of interviews where a lot of the journalists will ask me questions about like, hey, so, why this is important to you and all this stuff, man. Look, if you think about it, man, the percentage of Latinos or of people of color in the industry is very, very small still to this day. And God, we're in this. It's time for us to make this change, man. When Twitch hit me up and they asked me, Danny, what type of images you would like to have part of your billboard, I told them the first thing I said to them was the Dominican flag. And the reason why I mentioned that to them is to show Latinos like anything is possible, man. And it doesn't matter if you're Dominican or not. I would just want to show people, man, like, hey, look where I'm at. Like, I'm doing big things, man. You know, and because typically right now, in the Latinos, they're always talking about like entertainment, like, you know, musician, you know, athlete, comedian, same old. And I want to change that conversation, man. There's more stuff because we're talented in so many different levels of all kinds of stuff, man. And I want to highlight that. You know, I've been working with the government in Dominican Republic. We've been, you know, doing events in DR in Santo Domingo. Actually, the president of the Dominican Republic actually his team wanted to meet me as soon as they heard my story about the stuff that I've been doing. And because scheduling, we couldn't really meet. But one of the things I want to do is, like, you know, I don't care about politics or anything like that. It's more of like whoever's in charge, I want to talk to them to see how can we have more access for young kids that would love to learn how to code and make their own games. Because when I went to DR and I got to see the games that people made themselves using Unity engine and everything, man, I was like impressed, man. And they don't know how to get access to get into the industry at all. They just doing this everything on their own, and they learned this because they just been watching YouTube videos, you know. And I got the access. I'm gonna try to and give back, you know, because my mom. There's one thing about my mom. She's always giving back to her local community. Every year, she invests and buys a lot of like school supplies and clothing and a bunch of cool stuff and toys for poor kids and over there in Dominican Republic. And my mom would go every single year to give that to the kids. You have like this big event, free food and everything, and that's how I got that from my mom, you know. And I want to do the same exact thing, man, as much as I can.
I mean, I think, you know, I love hearing that. I think that's one of the other layers that I think people take for granted when they think about the impact that you've had on the industry and the ways that you've, you know, continued to give back to a lot of different people. You give back your time, you give back your energy, you give back your voice. I think it's a lot of people who don't understand how that's a lot of work. It's not easy. It's not easy to like section yourself off into different slivers of yourself to lend that to another human being, to say, I believe that I see something in you enough to know that you want to get something out into the world, and I want to help foster that in a real way. So I appreciate that about you and about the work that you do. And I think, again, this book, Danny Loves Video Games, is going to be another extension of that giving back to people out in the world, and how all of those things kind of coexist and connect in those ways. So that's dope. When is the book coming out again? Let people know where they can snag it, where they can grab it, and all that.
Yeah. So this is all self-publishing. We're doing this on our own. I have no marketing agency, no PR. I've been doing everything on my own.
Wow.
Remember that. So it's going to be on Amazon. You could go right now and pre-order. You could pre-order in English or in Spanish. Danny Ama Los Videojuegos, that's the Spanish version. We have it in hardcover, paperback, and also ebook. So, you know, if you have a Kindle device, you could do it there. And depending on how many people request or pre-order this from Barnes & Noble, the more support we get over there too, then the book will be available all across the stores across the country. But right now we're focusing on Amazon. We're doing, you know, all the push over there. And it's been great because seeing the charts has been crazy, seeing like the amount of people that have been pre-ordering, you know. I got to see, you know, people like Sarah Bond, shout out to her. She tweeted about it, you know, all kinds of people from the industry, because I'm so happy, and I'm getting so many support. Greg Miller, also the same thing too, man. It's awesome, man. So yeah, September 15th. Make sure to cop it. September
15th. I'm going to get my pre-order in tonight. Make sure I get in under the wire. Make sure I get in and support the fam in that way. I want to talk a little bit about some other gaming news stuff, and I think the easiest and best way to do that is if we talk about that in our 411 segment. So, we got the 411 this week. We got a lot of dope stuff to talk about. I want to dig into some of the news of the week that was pretty fantastic and pretty interesting to see across the board and get your take on it, because I got the man, the myth, the legend, Danny Peña rocking with me here on Spawn and Me episode 450. We saw that CD Projekt Red came out with their latest patch that, from what the studio has talked about, is getting us basically to what they had hoped to share in their initial launch of Cyberpunk 2077. I am really excited about this thing because I, as a person who is still trying to go through the game and play it and do all those things, I'm kind of excited to see this be in the world now, with them talking about, Phantom Liberty as being some DLC that's coming down the line for next year. How do you feel about, the conversations around Cyberpunk now and what they kind of showed? Are you excited to jump back in? Are you excited to dig into the game again?
Yeah, I'm very excited, man. Besides the bugs, which, that's a different conversation, but I actually enjoy the story. Like, I was just there trying to figure out, like, what's going to happen in the story. Like, I love Keanu character is really, really cool. And the story was very, very interesting. And I had a great time just doing side quests and working on the main mission. And now that we're going to get more content for this game, I'm all in. I'm definitely going to play it. And I know CD Projekt Red has been working on this now for a while. And besides working on fixing the bugs and everything too, man. So I'm very excited. And plus, I'm going to check out the show that's going to be available on Netflix too. That's going to be a lot of fun too to watch, man. It's part of the Cyberpunk universe,
Yeah, I'm excited for Netrunners? I think that's the name of it.
I think it's Edge Runners.
Edge Runners, sorry. Edge Runners. Yes,
Edge
thank
Runners,
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for that kind of stuff. I think those things are just like, it's cool to see IP kind of like play around in different spaces again, right? It's like, we saw Arcane become a huge deal when that game dropped, or when that Netflix series dropped. We're hearing some stories about, the Cyberpunk stuff that's going to be coming out and how they took some pieces of the conversation and moved those around as well, and got some one-to-one moments that were in the game, and then they translated those directly into the anime stuff. One of the coolest things that I did see from the announcement that I was not expecting and really excited to hear was that they have cross progress in the game now, which is a thing that I don't think a lot of people really covered when they talked about this, but is, for me, the biggest news and one of the things that I was really excited for. How has that been for you? Are you playing on multiple versions of stuff, playing on console and PC and stuff like that?
Not yet, and that's good that you mentioned, because if it's like that, then I'm definitely going to start playing on PC, because just last year I finally bought my gaming PC.
Yeah,
my first one for me. Officially. So yeah, I've been playing a lot more games here, and sometimes I'll go to the living room or the room and play my consoles there too. But also I've been playing a lot of the Steam Deck, man. I've been playing that nonstop, man.
Yeah.
So that's another thing we have to talk about too, Kyle, because that's like a way for us to continue our progress on the go too. So I haven't tried Cyberpunk to the Steam Deck yet, but I'm very curious how that looks on the device too. But I've been playing a lot of other games, like the Spider-Man game, God of War, The Witcher, and it looks beautiful. So yeah, I think this is cool, man. Hey, it's easy for us to take our games everywhere, man. Doesn't matter what type of device, man. I think that's very, very important, and make it easy for everyone too, man.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things that I'm like, I can't front. I'm kind of neglected my Steam Deck because I'm frustrated that I can't get the ROM stuff to work the way I want to. But
different conversation.
Totally different conversation. But and also now I got to figure out how to get GOG on my Steam Deck. It's probably not that hard, but I've just been tired and not wanting to deal with it. But yeah, like that cross progress thing, I think that's a thing that I think when folks are asking for features, right? I think a lot of people have dug into cross play as the main thing that they are the most excited about. And I have been on the opposite side of the fence where I'm like, I don't care anything about cross play. Cross play is nice. Cross progress is the thing that I think is the better thing for most people because, and maybe this is because we're edge cases, right? Like there are folks who don't have multiple consoles in their homes or don't have a PC and a console. So they're kind of like using one at a time to kind of figure out what they want to play with. But I think for the future of where we're going to go, seeing not only, multi-generational games happen, like where you have stuff on the PS4 and PS5, Xbox One and Xbox Series X and S. What are your thoughts about like what's the kind of more important version of this cross generational layer that we want to see? Cross progression or cross play?
I'm more of cross progression for me, but this is the reason why I've been playing a lot of Fortnite with friends because it has both, and there's not that many games that has crossplay and cross progression. Yeah. Actually, almost every night we play Fortnite because of no build. Thank God. Thank God. But there's people that play with us that they're playing on different platforms. I'm playing on a PC. My wife, she's playing the Xbox, and we have friends that are playing on multiple PlayStation devices, and we're playing and we have a great time. And if I have to switch, I still have all the stuff that I unlocked now to my other account, and it works great on the other device. You know what I'm saying? So make it easier for people, man. I think that would be very helpful for people to start supporting these games, because now it's easier for them to play on the go, play on the console, play on the PC, and Xbox have been doing that now for a very long time for their games, with only were consoles and PC, and now also mobile with xCloud. So
I rock with that. Are you playing mouse and keys or controller on PC at this point?
Well, I'm terrible with mouse and keyboard. Straight up controller still, man.
Good.
What about you?
Screw y'all mouse and keyboard cats out there. Forget y'all. Hey, I don't know how y'all do it. I can't do it. It feels like work.
Yeah, man. And then sometimes I press the wrong button. I'm like, I'm good, man. I'm a controller pro, man. I'm a professional on that one. I'll go with that one.
I'm bad. I'm like one of those folks. I'm like, once I gotta start touching keys, and I'm like, feels like I'm back at work, and I don't want to feel like I'm at work. I know I'm at a disadvantage, but I'll rock with the disadvantage if I feel like I'm still doing what I need to do in the right spaces. So I feel you on that.
Good.
Did you get a chance to check out a lot of the stuff from PAX this year?
No, because I've been busy with the whole book stuff. But yeah, let me know. Is there anything that was announced? There's a couple of things maybe I seen that, like High on Life. I'm very excited about that game. Very, very hyped about that game. And congratulations! I got to see your post with Justin Roland.
Yeah. It was really cool to get to interview Justin Roiland and Mikey Spano, art director from Squanch Games, about High on Life. Go check that stuff out. It's on our YouTube channel right now. You can go see that there. It's also on our podcast feed. So that was dope. I think there were a couple of games that were really dope that really made me excited. The one that we're showing right now on stream is called Cookie Cutter.
That looks fire. Like it reminds me kind of a little bit of Cuphead, like the animation. Like this is one of the games that stood out to me of like different clips that I got to see on Twitter. And is this for all platforms? All
I think so. I think this is going to be on console and on PC. I have to double check and make sure that I'm not a liar, but I think it was something that I didn't expect to be as dope as it is. I had seen people talk about it before, and this comes from Rogue. The publisher is Rogue on this game. But like the art style just jumped off the screen at me. They had a really big booth, and this was playing on the background. People were kind of playing the demo of it. And this thing just like jumps out at the screen at you and is just like, yo, this is going to be fire. It looks so dope in the way, because you know what it feels like to me too? It feels like mid-90s graffiti. Like,
yeah,
it has like that vibe to it where it just like, I remember like so many graffiti crews back at like Tats Crew back in New York back in the day when I was growing up in New York. Like that feeling and vibe of the vibrancy of it and the kind of overly exaggerated body parts and stuff like that was huge for me in an artistic way, seeing that stuff. But it's dope to see this game be put out into the world. So Cookie Cutter is the thing I definitely want you to check out. I think that's a game that you would love. I don't have footage of it yet because we're still trying to get some B-roll for some stuff, but there was a dope rhythm game that was made by a single indie dev. His name, I can't remember the name, but the game was called Melatonin. And that game was actually really fire as well. It was like you sitting in a room and you're basically doing these rhythm-based tasks. But it felt like the YouTube video that has the lo-fi kid just sitting in the room listening to music kind of stuff.
Yeah, and that's like a cat next to
it. Yeah, like the cat is chilling and is just doing a thing. It has that vibe to it in terms of like what that's kind of bringing to the space, which was really dope. Definitely got a chance to check out High on Life and play some of that in that demo, which really surprised me in that way. Did you get a chance to check out any of the High on Life demo stuff anywhere?
Nah, not yet, because the first time that I think was playable was at Gamescom and now at PAX. So I didn't attend none of the events, but I've been checking out like the clips and trailer and also during the showcase where they show the gameplay. It's very cool. It looks really, really cool, man. And it's going to be on Game Pass, so I could just turn it on, play. It's going to be good. And that's in December this comes out.
Yeah, like that thing is coming out super soon, which is nuts. And I think I went into that. It's really interesting too of like where things land for you, right? Where so much negative energy was coming from industry folks about the Justin Roiland audio, because like if you're not familiar with High on Life, the guns talk. It's Justin Roiland's the creator of Rick and Morty, and there's a comedic style there that may not be your cup of tea. It may be a thing that annoys you, right?
Sure.
But going through the demo, it was so interesting to just see how all of the weird, funky energy that people were continuously putting out and just being like, this is terrible, blah, blah, blah. Like, I didn't get any of that vibe from that game. It came across as pretty funny, and it was really interesting in the way that they break the fourth wall with some of the content that they do and some of the comedic beats that they hit, and also just, like, how good the shooting is in that game. Like, a game like that usually lands really hard on the comedy stuff, but like the shooter mechanic bits of it just feel really, really good, which was super fun to be able to check out some stuff. I also got a chance. Yeah, go ahead.
Can't wait. No, I was gonna say that I can't wait to play that. We had Justin on X Play when he was at Comic-Con.
Oh, right.
Yeah, we posted that during that time. But he mentioned to us, like, and this is the thing that stood out to me about the game. One is it's kind of similar to like a Mega Man style. Like you select where you like to go, and depending on the bosses too. So that's really, really cool. And he was also mentioning to us where there is TVs where you could also watch episodic of. I forgot the name of the video, but it's like episodes as. It was made for the game, and it's like I think 80. I think it was like 70 to 80 hours worth of content in there or something like that. I can't remember exactly the numbers, but it was something like that. I was like, "Yo, that's crazy!" So I'm just gonna play this game and just gonna watch these episodes that were made only for the game.
There was some really fun stuff in there that was around. Like there's one thing in there that's kind of like talking about Trump. You can tell that the characters that are in it are Trump and his kid. And that stuff, I was like sitting there during the demo, and I was like, I know I only have like 20 minutes to watch this, but I kind of want to watch the whole thing. Wait till it's a loop, because it was pretty good. Like, it was like actually funny in a way that for stuff that I am not a person who usually watches cartoons or things like that anymore. Like, animated stuff doesn't really hit for me, but like the way this came across was actually pretty dope in that way and stuff like that. So
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off.
I love it.
What was it that people didn't like about the game? What was the controversy? Because I haven't really been reading like the tweets or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious to see what people were saying about it, though.
I mean, I think it's the most honest answer I can give you is I think that, and this is the thing that has kind of like frustrated me with the space in the past couple of years, which has been for a long time, so much of the industry has had like hit dog syndrome, right? Where, you know, our job as creatives and as creators in the gaming space is to do a couple of different things. It's one, to give a really honest opinion to our audiences. Two, to share, you know, how things are coming to you and how you're feeling through things through that prism. Three, being a voice of truth and being connected to the space in a way that fans are not, because we're kind of on an inner circle with developers and publishers and all that kind of stuff. So we have a really interesting job to do in terms of how do we bridge a gap where, you know, fans and most kind of, you know, normal, air quote, normal gamers, regular gamers don't really get a chance to do any of that stuff. So we're the proxy for them. And over the past couple of years, like, it's the space between the way industry folks talk about gaming industry stuff and the way fans talk about gaming industry stuff has gotten real close. And I don't think it's in a good way, where some of the energy that comes out, like, I've read stuff on different websites that I won't mention, where if you look at a headline from that, it reads just like a tweet that you would get from a troll. And I'm like, if we gotten to a point where the energy is so close that I can't tell the people who are doing this for a living from the folks who were the trolls, that's a problem, right? That's not a problem for the folks who are trolling, because they get to be anonymous and do whatever they want. The folks who are in the industry side, you lose credibility with that audience in a real way. Now, mind you, there's a big chicken and egg there about like who were the folks who were starting to be jerks to people in the industry, and then the industry really put on this armor and was like, I want to be jerks back to the audience in a weird way. So I think it's a mix of a couple of different things, but people were mad at the voices that Justin was employing for it, because it was very much him. It was like that kind of super high pitched, kind of annoying, nerdy vibe that he was giving. And people don't like that, right? So they're like, oh, why don't you change it up a little bit? This energy that you're pulling from Rick and Morty is literally the same energy you're putting into High on Life. I think that was at the crux of the issue. Like, people were mad at that part of what was happening. And I don't think that, again, like that, being mad at that stuff is things it's totally fine. Like, you can have your opinion about, like, should Justin Roiland continue to voice most of the stuff that's in the game. And if you go look at the interview, and again, folks at home, listen to the interview, he talked about not wanting to do that and wanting to give other folks, and they wind up adding more people to the space to be voiceover artists for the game, so that they didn't have that same issue happen that everyone was getting mad about. And the funny thing was, if folks in the industry had waited or done the extra layers of doing that interview, or asking those people, or waiting for an interview like mine to come out, or yours to come out, or the other stuff to come out, they would have gotten the answer to the thing they got mad about. But everybody gets mad first and then waits for facts. So
yeah,
it's a weird space. It's a weird space, fam. It's nuts.
Yeah, you know what? That and I should have brought this up earlier during the interview, man. This is the reason why I want to put out the book, because we're seeing so much of the clickbait, so much of the negativity, and the negative is the thing that gets highlighted the most from the industry overall. Everybody starts sharing it, talks about it, and everything like that. Yeah. But where's the good? Why we're not promoting the good? And that's the part that is so frustrating. You know, someone that's been involved with the industry now for a very long time, it hasn't changed, man, because that's the reason why a lot of the media outlets and even content creators like YouTubers, they will always post negative nonsense because they know that's the content that's going to get the most attention because people are going to start sharing it, talking about it. If somebody disagree, they'll go to the comment and engage and all this stuff. And people are making money out of that stuff, man. You know, where's the good? Why people are not talking about the return of the Spawnies? You know, something like that. Like, let's talk about the good, man. It's frustrating, Ka. It's so frustrating seeing this.
I mean, it's a thing too, where I am not mad at the fact that we didn't get a lot of coverage from the industry for Spawnies 1, right? But it does reflect that information layer too. Again, of just like, as an industry, we don't share good well. Like, think about all the stories that'll run in the next 2 months. I bet you a quarter of the stories that we see come out will have a positive spin about developers doing good stuff in the space, great games that are happening, good gaming initiatives that are happening in the world. The funny thing is, like, when we do a lot of this work, especially stuff that happens behind the scenes, and you can attest to this because you're doing a lot of great work all the time behind the scenes, right? Is how much of that stuff gets coverage? Doesn't get coverage at all. It doesn't ever get pushed out into the world. But like, every story about crunch is the first thing that winds up pushing out onto the front page. And again, crunch is a terrible thing. We all know that all of that layer is not good for the industry. But if you also want people to be a part of this space, the kids that are going to read your book, the folks that are going to see the work that you're doing with the DR government, the folks that are seeing all this stuff, how do you set up a space for people to feel good about it if you never talk about any of the good that happens in it?
I'll tell you this. This is the reason why, besides working with a lot of the gaming outlets and the creators that are willing to talk about what I'm doing, I'm also been focusing on getting outlets outside of gaming. Because when people, here's the thing about this, Kyle, when people start seeing you on, let's say, NBC or an outlet that has nothing to do with gaming, that's when the conversations start changing. Now that's when everybody's like, oh, we got to talk to Kyle because, you get what I'm saying? And look, man, that's why I contact all types of outlets because I want to get a new crowd. I feel like we're all going after the same crowd over and over, but sometimes it's good for us to get out that circle, get out that bubble, and start interacting with people that maybe they're interested in gaming, but they've never heard of Spawnomy, never heard of GTR, never heard of any outlet out there, man. And that's what I've been doing, man. I think that's the thing that we have to start changing the conversation. At the same time, it will be helpful for us to talk to those major media outlets. So for them to understand that, no, there's a lot of good in gaming because they're also stuck in a bubble that are promoting nonsense too. All the negative stuff. You get what I'm saying? So that's why I've been doing that. I've been really focused on getting a totally different crowd, man, on not only events, but, with the content and just doing interviews like that, so I think we could do that.
And it's smart. And I think it's a conversation we've heard a lot, right? About like, if you're going to be successful in this space, you have to diversify not only your content, your monetary streams, but you need to diversify who you're talking to, because we do work in a bubble. Like, that is super, super real. And I think the other layer of it that I think is even just as important is, I think a lot of folks don't understand the strain that you have as a creator to only get to create in the avenue that you started in. right? Like, the thing I love about the work I've seen you do over so many years is like, gaming is a piece of it, but it has all these dope tendrils that'll go out when you're like, oh, I'm gonna be on a show with Nori. I'm gonna be on Drink Champs in a space that is not connected to gaming in any way, but those folks are gamers, those audiences have gamers in it, and hip hop is always been tied to gaming in a real way. So it's nice to be able to even show another version of ourselves that is different than what people get a chance to see with the usual content that we wind up doing. So I love that point that you brought up about that, because I think that's also really, really important too.
Yeah, and again, Kai, I think we have the power to make that change, man.
Yeah.
Because not that many people have that skill of trying to interact with a totally different crowd that has nothing to do with gaming.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So I can see you doing that, actually. I can see you being on multiple major media outlets, talking about the things that you do, talk about the Spawnies, and it will help to get the word out. And now imagine you start doing that, and there's going to be people that are going to watch for the first time the Spawnies. You get what I'm saying? So I think we gotta get out of that circle, that bubble, man, and try new things, man. A lot of the creators, we're all after the same crowd, man.
Yeah.
And I've never, even the days of my early days of PSO, I'm thinking, let me get a crowd that has nothing to do with gaming.
Yeah.
Because I want to, get their reaction and stuff. I'm not saying they're going to be there forever, but it's good to change it up, man, and experiment to see which one works or not.
Word. Well, we're almost out of time for our conversation with you for tonight. I got to thank you, as always, for coming through, homie, and rocking with me on the show. Before we let you go, give the folks at home again the date for when the book is going to drop and any other information that they need about you, GTR, all the stuff that you're doing in the world.
All right, Danny Loves Video Games, or in Spanish, Danny Ama los Videojuegos, is coming out September 15th on Amazon. It's self-publishing. You could go and buy the hardcover, paperback, or ebook. You can find me on social media. Just look up Godfrey or Danny Peña. You will see me. And Gamertag Radio, we're in every podcast app out there, man. Make sure to search, follow us, and subscribe, man. Support us, man. And this is the book. I'm ready.
Yo, that man knows how to promote. You got the book right on the desk. I love it.
Look at that. Look at me playing.
Oh, that's so dope.
This was New York City, the 80s, New York City arcade.
Oh my God. You got to get the next version of that to have like me on the floor getting beat up after I beat somebody in Mortal Kombat, and me on the floor being like, yo, that's the way it works. Yeah. Danny Peña, thank you again for being here with us on the show and on the episode. Again, if you're at home listening to this on podcast feed, you listen to this on YouTube, you listen to this on all the places that we put out work, go follow Danny at Godfrey on Twitter. Make sure you're giving him some love. Go cop the book. Make sure you represent, because Danny, again, is like doing work that continues to move all of this space forward in a real tangible way. When we think about the culture, Danny is at the forefront of this, and I think, I always thank you and send you love, because you always you've held my hand through many conversations and have helped me through many doors. So I love you, fam. It's always good to see you.
Family. We're family for sure, man. Yeah.
And you have ruined my liver with Brugal. It's like
I gotta say another bottle.
Oh,
celebrate the Spawnies, man.
Let's do it. we got to make it happen. We got to celebrate the Spawnies in a real big way. So, Danny, thank you so much for being here. Before we get up out of here for this episode of Spawn on Me, we're gonna talk a little bit about the Spawnies again. So, again, we've opened up Spawnies for fan voting. We're in our second week of fan voting. So we have the Indie Apocalypse Award that's up. We now have the Ongoing Game Award, and we also have our Best Shooter Award. So make sure you're checking out the social media feeds of me at Kahlief Adams and at Spawn on Me. You'll see the tweets go live, and then when you hit those tweets, reply to those tweets with the name of the game that you want to see nominated for those categories. We'll be doing our nomination show. It's going to be me and Rihanna. We're going to be rocking again, doing a nomination show on October 30th. It's probably going to be around like 6 p.m. Pacific time. So we're going to be doing the nomination show, so we get a chance to tell you all the good stuff that has happened, and all the games that you nominated that are going to be in the Spawnies for this year for you to again vote on the winners for all of that kind of stuff. Really quick, there was I got a chance to be on NPR this week, which was super fun and really cool, talking about the Spawnies. So please go check that out. That's on our social media channels as well. And there's a couple other things that are brewing down the line. If you are an MC, or the call is going out now because it's time. If you're an MC, if you're a finger drummer, you play on the MPC, you do that kind of stuff, like Arab music and other folks and that kind of stuff, hit me up. I'm looking for you because I have a really dope thing that I want to put into the Spawnies that I think needs that touch. So I'm looking for folks who are going to be in that space doing that kind of work. So hit me up. Keep voting for Spawnies. Next week, when this episode goes up on Monday, we're going to drop 2 new categories for you to vote on. And word, we're now doing this on YouTube. YouTube.com/SpawnOnMe is where you can check out the live shows. We're going to try to get back into our Wednesday schedule of 6 p.m. PST. So please make sure you're checking that stuff out. Go hang out with our friends over at fanbyte.com. The mothership is there, so you can go check out some of the work that they're doing. And that's where our podcast is hosted. And last but not least, wash your hands and wash your butt. Make sure you're out there and get your stuff together. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. Make sure you're giving love to the people out in the world. And please try to make the world a little bit better than you left it. The energy is full of negativity out here. We want to spin this into a space where we're doing some positive things. Thank you to everybody who came through tonight in the chat. Thank you to everybody who's going to be hanging out with us when we do more of our Twitch streams for the gaming side of things. And we're going to try to grow this out on the YouTube side and get some dope things happening in the mix. TwitchCon, I'm going to be there. There's going to be some interesting things happening as well there, and a couple other announcements in the next couple of weeks. So lots of good things happening for your boy and for Spawn on Me and for all the good stuff. Again, thank you to Danny for coming and rocking with us. Make sure you go check out Gamertag Radio and go cop the book. You must go cop the book. Danny loves video games. I'm not going to try to say it in Spanish because then everyone will laugh at me if I try to do it. They'll be like, nah, don't do it. Like, give it to me in Spanish one more time, Danny. One more time.
Danny amas los videojuegos.
What Danny said. Much love to you all. Much love to you all. We'll get up out of here. Have a wonderful, lovely night. And we'll see you all next week here on Spawn and Me podcast. Peace and love. Deuces.